well, it's already running now. So right, so the two slides, the pre-tax income of the 1% slide I think is particularly effective, and the U.S. wealth distribution 2009 slide. Those are the effective ones, I think.
Okay.
While me, as a Marxist, enjoy the wages pay, average CEO pay slide, and you're trying to demonstrate something about wealth inequality, this is such an extreme example of it, because you're talking about you're talking literally about 50 people here in the top 500 layoff leaders, right? So while I like this slide, I don't think it's...
However, those are the people who end up being in the top 1%.
Right. No, and I agree with that. But either you can make the case more clear here,
Okay.
Or I'm not saying don't include it. I'm saying there's something a little bit less effective about this in the way it was presented here. Because yes, you're talking about income inequality, but when all said and done, there's going to be a 1% somewhere. I think that and particularly because you're presenting this to business school people who are very like driven by money.
Yeah.
I think it's less effective than when you talk about 80% of the population, which is actually probably going to include a lot of people in that room. I'm sorry, that there's the top 20%, right, makes 80% of the income.
Right.
Chances are the people in the room
Yes.
are in that group.
Yes.
Right? So I think there's a way in which that resonates more
Right.
than this CEO slide.
Right.
If you understand where I'm coming from.
Well, the point of the CEO slide is to say that the people who make, and the S&P 500 are the largest companies in the U.S., right? And the point of it is, the people who manage the largest companies, who are quote unquote, the way they describe them, the job creators, if you will, if there is this callousness about what a worker is worth, that becomes an issue.
Right, and I think that's a point you need to make more strongly when you actually deliver this, because this goes back to one of your, in the earlier slides when you talk about plutocrats, and so you need to explicitly make this this link, I think, a little bit stronger.
Okay.
But at the same time, there's a moment in this where it sounds like almost you're making a different argument because this is so important outside of the context of just this paper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's just a balancing with this. But I mean, I think when you talk about this, because you used the term plutocrat earlier, you should use the term plutocrat when you're delivering this slide.
Because one of the reasons in this paper, as a first paper, I'm kind of putting pillars down for other papers.
Right.
So it's not a fine-tuned paper where I take a pinhead and I process the daylights out of it.
Right. But in terms of like unity of the presentation, using plutocrat when dealing with this slide, because you used it earlier, go ahead and do it, I would say.
All right.
On the personal savings slide, there's just it says personal savings twice.
Yeah, I can eliminate
You just
that.
need to cut that.
Yeah, I'll cut that slide out. There's no reason to have that. I don't know why I was holding on to that.
Yeah, I brought up the slide in general before. This is one of those, you've now written everything that you could just say, but you have put it on a slide. You don't need to. You know this.
Yeah, right.
You don't need a slide.
The only thing is, I should probably clean up those two wealth and, the two ones I was showing there.
Yeah, these need something.
Yeah.
I get what you're trying to do here. You want to create this image of the complexity, I think.
Maybe what we could do is do one slide and have you help me with a cleaner version of it, where on one side we have like a scale where the assets and the wealth is huge and the debt is thing, and then the other side is the opposite.
I mean, that's a lot to put in one slide.
Yeah, right.
And again, the actual model that will eventually be produced and put into a journal can be much more complicated than what you can put on a slide and use effectively. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Like, you're trying to do all this stuff with images and it's fine, but don't expect your audience to they might get a feel from these images, but don't expect them to actually follow what's happening. Just because it is a presentation, it's not something that they're going to review later in the way that a written document is. So,
which is why I wanted to make it pretty and colorful.
But then it obscures a little bit the information that's there. So I'm saying I don't think you need to make too much changes to the slide. Just have them look the way you want, because I do think that it portrays sort of a chaotic soup of what goes into this.
Right.
But just don't have the expectation that people are actually reading it like they would a conceptual model.
Right. And these are business school professors, so they'll get it.
Right. I mean, you missed it, I think, in the death by PowerPoint comedy routine, but it's like, and this is every marketing slide ever produced. That people in marketing are particularly bad at this. Yeah, this U.S. wealth slide, this one, I'm not sure it's in the right place right now.
Yeah, I could delete that, because do I need that again?
Not necessarily. I mean, when it came up, you were like, and this just shows what we have already talked about.
Yeah.
So, like...
we can just leave it there, and I could delete it.
You can leave it there, you can delete it. It's not...
Yeah, just leave it, that's fine.
The general findings, you said you'd work on this slide in general.
Wolf is I think he's at NIU or someplace, and he's done some good academic work, so I wanted to throw something in.
Yeah.
And it's where you want to salute someone.
I mean, the implication slides, I think, work well in the way they're intended. This one's a little busy, but like it's every marketing slide ever, so...
No, that's a summary slide.
Right. So I think you do a good job of explaining this, so I'm not too worried about how busy it is.
Well, I can take off the side things if you want. The comment stuff.
Like I said, you do a good job of explaining this, so I think this is all right. Something weird's going on with the arrow, though.
Yeah. Let me see.
I think you just meant to have an arrow there.
Yeah.
So that's just a typo.
Okay, but because I didn't figure out, I didn't have my daughter to do the arrow thing. I know how to go back and do it.
The mean value before tax family income for families with holdings. What? Like, where is this? I'm confused about the source of this information. Because it says mean value of before tax family income for families with holdings. Holdings of what?
Oh, this is U.S. Census data. Let me see.
And it says by education of head.
Yeah. So basically what the government does is they do household income. That's household income data.
Okay, so is it actually mean value of before tax family income for families with holding by education of head of household?
Yes, but that's how economists talk. Let me explain what it is.
Because right now that's not what it says.
Yeah. Okay, mean value of...
It says mean value of before tax... Here, let me come closer so I can check.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so I think this is just a formatting error. Mean value of before tax family income for families with holdings by education of head.
Let me. Yeah, by